Coming up on Tech News Today, a 360-degree look at Microsoft Office 365. Also, Google is let off in chains by Canada. We'll tell you why. And Steve Jobs is angry at Android. He calls it Angrioid. Actually, we wish he did, but we'll tell you what he actually said.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, October 19th, 2010. Happy birthday, Tim. Tech News Today is brought to you by Ford and voice-activated Sync, featuring true hands-free calling, turn-by-turn directions, 911 assist, and more. Available exclusively on Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. For more details, visit syncmyridepodcast.com. And by Carbonite. Backing up the files on your PC or Mac is safe and easy with Carbonite. For a free trial plus 2 free months with purchase, go to carbonite.com. Offer code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I am Becky Worley.
I'm Jason Howell.
And on the phone with us, on the Skype with us, is Ms. Veronica Belmont. Welcome to Tech News Today.
What's a phone?
I don't know.
Hello.
It's like a gramophone. It's the same era.
As in
technology.
your grandma uses it, right?
Veronica of Techzilla fame, revision3.com/Techzilla, also host of Core on the PlayStation Network. Did I get it right?
Indeed, yes, you did. Thank you.
Do you do anything else?
Also a little show called The Sword and Laser with Mr. Tom Merritt as well.
Right. That's a great show. Looking at the tech news today, which is what we do on this show.
If we do say so ourselves.
We have Microsoft unveiling Office 365.
Whoop, whoop.
Now you can use Microsoft Office 365 days a year.
No,
Yay!
That's not what it meant?
No, Tom.
Oh.
The cloud, man.
That's right. This is the latest cloud productivity package. You get Office, SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, and Lync Online as part of one package. Now, if you're a small business, fewer than 25 employees, you can get a $6 per user per month account, and it's just the online stuff. Large companies can go anywhere from $2 to $24 per user per month, and they get a bunch of other stuff, including web conferencing, phone support, and the first, well, not the first, but a subscription to Microsoft Office Productivity Suite, the actual box stuff.
What I think is really great is that workers can actually install it on up to 5 machines, which is really nice and a lot easier than having to go into IT and have them install it on every other computer you bring into the office with you.
Like that. I mean, I was thinking, okay, let's say I'm a Weasley small business person and I want to figure out how to get the cheapest version of the Office suite. I'm going to get some college student to buy me the $70 version and education version, and this would just beat it by 62 bucks a year if you do the $6 version. But that ability to have multiple computers on one license makes it a lot more appealing.
And you get SharePoint. Which you don't get if you just buy that $70 box copy. It's a matter of question of whether you take advantage of that or not, I guess.
Why did they have to rename this? Why don't they just say you can collaborate on documents?
Well, because what was the old name? There was an old name for this kind of thing, and it was like the Microsoft Office Productivity. Was
right. So this is an uptick,
like that.
but still, it's a deficit.
Microsoft doesn't have the best,
Naming
best ability to
inclination.
name a lot of their products.
Hey,
so it's probably
I'm going to stick up for them. I think Office 365 is a much better name than...
That's what I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why I'm saying it's better that they changed it instead of just keeping it with their typically pretty confusing naming conventions.
Although that's part of the confusion, too, is the fact that they always change their naming conventions.
Hello.
So you get used to one horribly, confusing naming convention, and then they pull the rug out from under you, and you got used to another one.
What about Office Cloud? What about not Google Docs? Is this a straight competitive play against Google, or how do we see this?
I don't think it's a straight competitive play, but it's definitely a with an eye towards Google Apps for the domain. Because right now you can use Google Docs for free, but if you want to run it on your own internal enterprise server, you pay $50 per user. And that's not just Docs. That's Mail and Google Groups and all the Google offerings. So this is more limited than what Google offers, but at the same time, you get SharePoint, and you get Exchange, and you get the Office Productivity Suite if you're a larger company. So it may be more limited, but it's got all the things you care about.
Right. And just a point here, Matt0678 says in the chat room, says it was called Office Live Workspace Beta.
That's one name. That's not the name that I was seeing earlier.
Business Productivity Online Suite.
That's the one.
Thank you, Joda Tech.
Business Productivity Online Suite was the one I saw that was very catchy.
How does it compare to Google Docs for businesses in terms of pricing? I think that's, what, $50 a year?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Google Docs is part of Google Apps for the Domain, which is $50 per user, and that gives you everything Google offers, some analytics and, you know, some stuff that's not here. But, you know, it's a matter of if you're in a Microsoft world already, this kind of makes it easy to move into the cloud. And it's not terribly expensive.
And I think it's a lot further to leap for smaller IT departments who are comfortable with the brand. They know the Office Productivity Suite, and they feel like this is going to be a very simple integration, as opposed to another migration, which is just more work hours.
The big thing they're pushing is ease of setup. They say it only takes 15 minutes to get the small business version up and running. They're talking about, you know, there's some small business in Seattle that's using it, and they've gone from spending a lot of time maintaining an Exchange server to not having to do any of that maintenance because it's all taken care of in the cloud by Microsoft. So, yeah, I think it's definitely positioned against Google and to stop people from wanting to jump from Microsoft to something else.
I think it's a good move for them. I think it's priced competitively. And like you said, it's really easy to migrate everything, you know, instead of having to migrate over to Google Docs, just keeping it all in this ecosystem that you already have working for you across a larger company.
And if you are a small business, you couldn't use Google for free, though. If you just didn't want to do apps on the domain, you just have a Gmail address and all that.
True.
So, you know, it's interesting. This is a little bit like comparing apples and oranges, which scientifically you can do. It was recently proven.
Sidebar.
Yeah. Steve Jobs, we talked about the earning call yesterday from Apple briefly in the news fuse, but what we didn't know at the time was Steve Jobs had jumped on the call and kind of not lashed out. That's the way it's being described.
Yeah.
Let's just listen, and you can characterize it yourself. Here's what he sounded like.
In this most recent quarter, Google loves to characterize Android as open and iOS and iPhone as closed. We find this a bit disingenuous and clouding the real difference between our two approaches. The first thing most of us think about when we hear the word open is Windows, which is available on a variety of devices. Unlike Windows, however, where most PCs have the same user interface and run the same apps, Android is very fragmented. So he's trying to say open isn't always great. And look at Android, it's all busted up. And there was a chart recently where TweetDeck had put out the different types of Android users that were accessing TweetDeck. And this chart shows a huge number of different IDs.
And Steve Jobs quoted this chart by calling them first Twitter Deck, which I thought was kind of cute.
Or maybe he meant a different company.
Yeah, it's possible. But as a technology journalist who's always trying to keep track of all these damn companies, I appreciated his gaffe. But he said it has 100 different versions of Android on 244 different handsets, 4 different app stores, and this TweetDeck is, barely able to keep up with all of the testing that they have to do for their app as they release it on Android, whereas in iOS, they've got one flavor and just a few pieces of hardware.
Ian Dodsworth, the CEO of TweetDeck, posted on Twitter, did we at any point say it was a nightmare developing on Android? No, we didn't. It wasn't.
Well, they got 2 guys working on the Android, he says.
Took this all out of context.
Yeah, where did he even get this from? Steve, that is.
Well, he's using this chart, right, with all of these different fragments that TweetDeck put out, and he's interpreting it in a different way. I feel like what he did is what we run into sometimes, where you look at something briefly, you make an assumption about it, and if you don't dig into it a little, you end up being wrong, and he got well actually'd. Nice.
Definitely.
Well, the problem is there's two different kinds of people out there. There's people who want an open kind of system like Android offers, where they have the choice to use, 4 different app stores and be able to develop for a lot of different platforms. And at the same time, there's people who just want to be able to go to one store and have everything be more of a, quote, closed system like you can get with the iTunes store. So it just kind of depends on which way you like getting your apps and how you like to develop and where the people are.
And I think there's also 2 ways to look at this, Veronica, which is you can see the ecosystem and the space for those products that fit those 2 different types of people, or you can be Steve Jobs, who wants a winner, and he wants to be that winner. And I thought it was fascinating that he even, to paraphrase, that he dignified the presence of an alternate mobile OS by recognizing or acknowledging it.
He jumped on the call, which doesn't normally happen, and made a point of calling them out. You're right.
Yeah, and that's, to my mind, the first massive recognition of this mobile operating system, and the fact that he paralleled it to Windows seemed like a real paradigm shift for Apple.
Does it stink of fear a little bit? Got a little stink of fear on Steve right now, you think?
These numbers coming up on, well, I think he's got to be thinking about it hard, given the numbers that we're seeing all across the map about the absolute meteoric rise of Android sales and Android handsets.
Andy Rubin, the engineer behind Google's mobile strategy, posted on Twitter the definition of open: make directory Android, CD Android, repo init, switch U, get Android kernel, URL, repo, sync, make.
Oh my God, I totally agree.
Which is essentially just like, this is how easy it is to download Android, compile it. Make your own Android.
Just back out. What the hell is that about? Can you just?
I just told you.
I know, but just do the for dummies, please.
That's what I just did. I just did the
more dummier. More dummier.
Let me repeat what I said. This is how you download Android, compile it, and make Android.
In what? What language are you speaking?
Make Android. You want Android, the operating system, on a phone?
Make
That's
your own
how you
Android
do it.
OS. There you go.
More dummier.
Put OS on phone.
I'm just playing the devil's avocado here, guys. Come
OS on phone. Does not do.
Are we making news here? What are we doing?
I don't know. Google also in trouble today for being in breach of privacy law in Canada. This is one of the most recent. Well, this is the most recent result of the Google Street View fiasco, where they were getting snippets of people's emails. The Canadian Privacy Commissioner found that the incident was the result of an engineer's careless error and has called upon Google to tighten up its privacy rules by February or face a stern talking to.
No. Day late, dollar short, no teeth. Come on, Canada. Germany beat you to the punch. This story is I mean,
well,
really.
they started their investigation. They had to end it, right?
Well, true. They were probably just more thorough.
Yeah. They were very, very thorough. They say our investigation shows that Google did capture personal information, in some cases highly sensitive personal information, such as complete emails, email addresses, usernames, and passwords. It was a serious violation of Canadians' privacy rights.
But they already have all that information.
Exactly. Well, probably, right?
Probably.
So they've said that Google has to conduct some training of their engineers in privacy. They have to delete all of the data that they received, and a couple other things, just things that Google's probably already done, but and they have to show that they did these by February, and then they'll be off the hook.
The stern talking to, as the chat room says, a very stern talking to.
They're in big trouble.
That's right.
We'll be in big trouble if we don't thank our sponsor. Ford and Voice Activated Sync is bringing you today's show. If you want to drive around and talk to people, read an audiobook, get your text messages. It sounds pretty awful, right? You don't want someone on the road doing that. Actually, it's not. It's not awful at all. If you use Ford Voice Activated Sync, it can actually read your text messages to you, allow you to dictate text messages. It can actually read an audiobook, play music, play anything off of your music player, your phone. You can make calls hands-free. It's all available, including turn-by-turn directions and more. In fact, 911 assist is actually really important because it could save your life. If the airbags go off, it automatically dials 911 for you. Sync is available exclusively on Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. Make calls on most Bluetooth-enabled mobile phones. Get turn-by-turn directions, all while keeping your eyes on the road. If you're interested in learning a little more about voice-activated sync, go to syncmyridepodcast.com. It's standard on some Ford, Lincoln, Mercury models, optional on others. Check it out. syncmyridepodcast.com. HP has announced a new operating system.
Kinda.
HP? Operating? Yeah,
What?
WebOS 2.
WebOS 2 acquisition from Palm, little rejiggering on the UI, and a new Palm Pre to go with it, huh?
Yeah, Palm Pre 2. France is getting it first. I don't know what that says about the release. It's good for France, though. HP's new HP Palm Pre 2 smartphone will be available Friday in France from SFR and is scheduled to be available in the coming months in the United States from Verizon Wireless and eventually in Canada as well.
There's a few very vocal Palm OS, WebOS fans and Palm Pre fans, but I just think it's a day late, a dollar short for them. The whole thing worries me. I just don't think they're going to pull through the rest within the next couple of years.
That is the concern, and I went in and pulled out what is unique and compelling that the folks really calling out and highlighting. So I'm just going to read to you from some of their marketing materials here in the marketing voice. Multitasking is being enhanced with the new Stacks feature, which logically groups together your open apps. Enhancements in Just Type make it even easier to start common activities like composing an email, updating your status. All you have to do is start typing, and WebOS takes you there. Your browser can now display Flash content. Okay, I like that. The Pre 2 is faster. It's the first Palm phone with a gigahertz processor. So 5 megapixel camera, pleasing combination of a vivid touchscreen and a slide-out keyboard.
This is a great Android phone. I mean, that's the thing. These are all good features. They're features that are necessary. WebOS fans are going to be psyched that they're getting all these features, but this is all stuff that's already available on other phones.
Yeah, but the thing is I think that UIs are emotional. People have emotional responses and loyalty to UIs. Once they learn it, once they feel it, once they intuit it, they want to keep it. So I understand that. That makes sense to me.
And I think WebOS just isn't available on enough devices that people have kind of developed that emotional feeling with it yet. I mean, either you have the Pre and you really love it, or it's just not something that you're interested in at all.
And HP has indicated that they see this as a way to get on tablets and mobile devices. So this is sort of carrying through something that was already in the works when they bought Palm. I don't think we've seen HP's hand in this yet.
It's almost a save face move. They have to come out with something on this WebOS. They have to iterate it, even if it's in sort of these seemingly minuscule ways. So I think they had to do something.
Yeah. And WebOS ain't bad. Don't get us wrong.
No.
It's actually really good. And the multitasking switching between stacks is pretty nice. I like it.
Veronica and I have to talk about something. Do you think that the Palm Pre 2 will have the same mirror on the back, the way the original Palm Pre did, so we can put our lipstick on?
Oh, geez, I hope so.
Oh, my gosh. Let's do an unboxing.
That's like the equivalent of them showing you the vanity mirror when you're shopping for a car, right?
Well, that's why we make decisions about phones.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of making decisions about phones, we may have a new iPhone. I don't know if you've heard any rumors about this. Boy Genius Report says that their source tells them the next iPhone, which is the one referenced in the code as Model 3,2, has hit the AP field test stage. That is the last stage before retail release. Now, they still don't know exactly what this phone is, and their source tells them it contains a SIM card slot. So their three speculations are it's a world phone, CDMA plus GSM. It's a CDMA-capable iPhone that houses a SIM card for roaming capabilities, or it's not a CDMA phone at all. It's just a new version of iPhone 4 that has a rejiggered antenna to avoid the antenna gate issues.
I think the world phone is the one that makes the most sense and is the most compelling. What really fascinates me about this story is they threw enough letters and numbers in together that I'm starting to believe it's credible. It was really specific. Of all the other reports we've heard, from the Wall Street Journal, from the New York Times.
That's all it takes.
He threw in a couple of numbers and letters together in a sequence, and I'm in.
Yeah, and you add on top of that a blink tag, and everyone's going to be in.
Oh, my gosh. And a SIM card slot. My God, now you've got me.
As far as getting insider information, I typically believe most of the things that Boy Genius has to say. Like they tend to get the pretty good intel in these kinds of situations.
So they're up in your credibility.
I agree. They're fairly reliable. They also say the next generation iPhone 5 has hit the EVT stage in the development cycle. So that's the engineering verification stage. That's before the DVT phase. So,
See?
But iPhone 5 coming along. I think it'd be funny if this just ended up being an iPhone 4 with a rejiggered antenna. I don't think they would do that, though, and give it a model number. I think that would just be the same model number with a different antenna. Although they might. You never know.
Yeah. I don't know. I still say, let's take a pool. Verizon iPhone. I'm just going to throw it out there. April 2011. Announce.
I'm going to say worldwide available CDMA phone unlocked. You'll be able to use it on Verizon, but it's not a Verizon iPhone, and around the same time.
Whoa. Veronica?
I say summer of 2011 available.
That's what I was thinking, summer.
Wow, Tom.
For availability announcements. Yeah.
Announcement maybe. Yeah,
Early
spring,
2011.
Winter event. I can't
announcement
remember which.
January.
Announcement in January. That's usually when they make.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if they're just doing a big product announcement.
They're going to do a new iPad
today.
in January.
Yeah,
Or
iPad.
tomorrow, yeah.
They're going to try and do their Scoop CES deal.
Tomorrow is their MacBook Pros. January is
Tomorrow.
iPad and a possible CDMA iPhone, and then June will be when we actually see iPhone 5.
You heard it here first.
That's my guess. A poor StarCraft 2 player named Only G Money had been banned.
Feel sorry for a player named G Money.
Poor bastard.
That's G Money with a 0. Now, here's the interesting thing about his ban. StarCraft, if you don't know, bans you from using cheats when you play online. That way, when you're playing against somebody else, you can't go into God mode and trounce all over them. This would not be very fun. G Money got suspended for using a cheat while online, but he was only playing the game's AI. He was never using the cheats to play other people.
He says.
He said, well, no, I think that part is true. He says he never intended to play other people with it. That part we don't know. And he also he was able to rack up some achievement points because the achievement system still counts if you're online. Now, what he said...
That's the problem. That's the problem.
You can play guest mode and not be online with StarCraft and use as many cheats as you want. There's no problem with that. That is allowed. Once you log in and go online, though, they assume you're going to play multiplayer, and you're not allowed to use the cheats. That's the thing that he violated. So the question, he says, I just wanted to be able to chat with my friends. The question is, just by going online, should you be banned from playing against the computer?
Well, I think there's a lot to be said for modding, in PC games. I think it's a really interesting community, and they do a lot of cool work. This is not modding, though. This is using a cheat to alter the way that the game works to rack up more points. And he is getting achievements that he doesn't deserve because he is cheating in that regard. And if you want to do that when you're offline, that's fine. But the second you take it online and Blizzard gets wind of it, they're within their rights to boot you from the game. That's the rules. That's what you sign up for. So I don't think it's necessarily too out of line. I mean, maybe he could make a case if he finds a moderator that's feeling, particularly helpful that day, perhaps. But I don't know. It doesn't look good for him.
I think this is a bigger ethics question. It's like when the Tea Party lady said, being the master of your own domain is the same as adultery. And I think that's really what we have to figure out here.
I think it's very clear that what he was doing was not meant to be wrong. At least it wouldn't have to be interpreted that way, but was in violation of the rules. So if you just want to be legalistic about it, you just say, forget it. He broke the rules. He should have known, right? But
he clicked accept on the EULA.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how it is.
I think there's some room to give him a little break and say, you know what, maybe unban him and say don't do it again. Because what's happening with him is he's like, I just wanted to chat. There's this great new thing with Blizzard where I can chat with all my friends who are playing Blizzard games, and I wanted to take advantage of that while I was playing against the AI and using my cheats. And I can't do both without violating the policy. So maybe there ought to be another option in there that says you can go online and take advantage of these things and play in this walled-off garden.
But then do games really want you modding game makers really want you modding their games to begin with,
Actually,
regardless of anything?
Yeah, Blizzard has a whole modding community.
Very
that
open
they
to
encourage,
that?
Yeah.
Oh, then that's even stickier.
It gets really sticky.
Gross.
That's actually a whole new TWiT show. Why did I get booted?
Yeah.
That could be like a David Horowitz of TWiT. We're going to get you unbooted.
Unbooted. Yeah. Fight back
TWiT on your side.
with Becky Worley.
Virgil says, don't ban me, bro.
Rob Dickens, former head of Warner Music in the UK, has now come out saying, you know what we should do to save the music industry? This is like, you know what we should do to solve that Middle East problem? You know what we should do to save the music industry? We should only charge £1 for albums.
Okay.
What do you think?
I like it.
I like it.
Perhaps a wee bit simplistic.
It's
No?
$1.50 for me.
Well, given the exchange rate.
Yeah.
So he basically thinks we just haven't thought hard enough about this issue of music and piracy and file sharing and digital music.
Yeah.
Can't we all just get along?
I think he's got the right idea. I mean, what he's saying I've been hearing for years, which is price it competitively so that it isn't worth it to pirate. And you'll make enough money that you can support the industry.
Well, you know, it's like microtransactions. Like a lot of people don't think anything of spending 99 cents on an app on iTunes Store, or spending 99 cents for like a piece of furniture in The Sims 3 or something like that, you know, but putting $9.99 on it makes people think a little bit harder about spending the money. And so they're like, well, if I can get it for free, I might as well. I think doing much cheaper albums is actually a really great idea.
Yeah, the problem is you've got two reactions to this. One is, well, now that he's made his money and stepped down and he's no longer at Warner, it's easy for him to say this. Jonathan Shalit is quoted in this Ars Technica article saying, look, a bottle of water is £1. A piece of music is a valuable form of art. If you want the person to respect it and value it, it's got to cost them not a huge sum of money, but something significant.
But more people will buy more albums if they're less expensive. And so, you know, maybe it'll even out a little bit.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it has less to do with pricing, and that the whole process has changed our attention span for this experience of music, and that the album concept is just way gone. My attention span is, give me the first 8 seconds. If I like it, I buy it.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? Everybody's doing that. People are buying tracks instead of buying whole albums. And I think what he's saying is we can actually get whole albums into people's hands, get them more interested in an artist, more willing to go to shows if we make it cheaper. So like Veronica said, they buy more albums and we actually get a decent amount of money. I think the problem the music industry is running up against is people just don't want to spend that much money. It's not about piracy. It's about, I don't spend money on music anymore. I spend my money on games and apps and
not to mention we have
stuff.
ad-supported free music. So the horse is out of the barn.
Yeah, wouldn't you just want to recoup some of that money instead of losing most of it? You know what I mean? Like, instead of throwing it out to pirates, just having, getting some of that money back by charging less for the albums.
But man, that is such a hard sell for the music industry to chop their value, their perceived value of their music, by a tenth.
That's what Shalit was saying. Yeah. Or Shalit.
That's a hard one.
All right, before we get to News Fuse, I want to thank our other sponsor, Carbonite, the leader in online backup. They are backing me up right now.
Back it up.
Right now on this very machine. In case there is a disaster, I will be backed up. Will you? I suggest a two-prong system. Keep a local backup and keep a cloud backup. And Carbonite is my cloud backup. And the thing you get with that is not only the peace of mind that you're backed up, and if anything local gets destroyed, you've got your data in the cloud. It also is encrypted end-to-end and available to be accessed from other computers with your Carbonite login. So if you have that important document, it's quietly backed up in the background. You don't even notice it's happening, and you can get it on another computer when you log in. You can get it on an app on your BlackBerry or your iPhone. It works on PC or Mac. And whether you're a computer novice or a full-fledged techie, it's easy to set up, and you just let it back up away in the background. Unlimited backup for your PC or Mac is only $55 a year. You heard that right. Unlimited. There's not a storage limit on it. That's 15 cents a day, $55 a year. Try it for free. You don't believe me? Just go try it. Maybe it's not for you. I bet it is, though. Go to Carbonite.com, enter the offer code TNT. If you decide to buy the service, you'll get 2 months free with the offer code TNT. Be sure to sign up for the free trial from the homepage to get the 2 months free. And you don't need a credit card if you're worried about that. Just go use the offer code TNT at carbonite.com. Time for the news fuse. Mr. Little Jeans. There will be 5.3 billion mobile cellular subscriptions in the world by the end of the year, and 90% of the world's population now has access to mobile networks. I think that might be more than electricity. This according to the International Telecommunications Union in its The World in 2010 report. Deployment of 3G has grown significantly in both the developed and developing countries, with 143 countries offering 3G services in 2010 compared with 95 back in 2007. That's in 3 years. So forget a PC on every desk. It's a phone in every hand. That's what's actually changing the world right now.
Oh, say, can you see? No, sit down, Tom. It's okay. So you don't have to get all American and patriotic here. But Intel sure is rolling out the old red, white, and blue. The chip maker says it plans to build out chip development and fabrication facilities in the U.S. of A. for its future 22-nanometer PC and server chips. They say they will spend over $8 billion and create thousands of jobs in the process. Well, good news.
Oh, say can you see, indeed. And Engadget reports that a fellow called Fox at Brain Lazy decided to take an X-Acto knife to his Epic 4G's keypad in order to make the thing a little friendlier to gaming. This guy, Fox, simply pulled out the unused keys, made a few small cosmetic tweaks, and voila, a gamepad slider. Why wait for the PSP phone?
That's pretty awesome. He actually said he was going to do this whole like game controller thing and then realized all he had to do was leave a few keys in place. It's pretty awesome.
It looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, it does.
Her Majesty's government is free to meddle in the marketplace. Regulator Ofcom has rejected calls by private corporations to investigate YouView. YouView is a box that was created in order to give a little next-generation set-top box action to the license payers in the UK. It's jointly owned by government-subsidized broadcasters like the BBC and others like ISPs. Bundles in TV content in a TiVo-like box that is sold for between £150 and £300. You can expect it on sale next spring if you're in the UK and a license payer.
Facebook's privacy woes continue. Representatives Ed Markey from Massachusetts and Joe Barton from Texas have sent a letter to Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg asking him for more information on the sharing of users' personal data through third-party apps. Now, keep in mind that these two representatives have sent practically the same letter to Apple, to Google, to like 12 other companies, likes of Answers.com and Dictionary.com, whenever they have had privacy flaps in the news, too.
Can't fault them for trying. And more companies suffer from electronic theft than from physical theft, according to poll results from consultancy Kroll. That's the first time virtual beat out physical. The theft of information or electronic assets was reported by 27.3% of companies over the past 12 months, up from 18% in 2009. The theft of physical assets inched down to 27.2% from 28% last year.
And finally, researchers are one step closer to bootless computers. These are computers that will just turn on immediately when you press the button. Now, we have that with PDAs. Becky likes to think her iPad is like that. It's just because she doesn't actually turn it off.
No, it's virtual booted all the time.
When you turn it all the way off, though, it's got to boot back up.
It's semantics.
What if you never even had to do that? When you're on the airplane, you get off the airplane, you turn your iPad back on. What if you didn't have to wait for that little Apple sign?
I don't turn it off.
Booting
I just
everywhere.
you
just risk everyone's life. Okay, I get it.
Okay, that's going on Mythbusters. That's just a bunch of hooey.
Anyway, the point of this is physicists at the University of California, Riverside, have made a breakthrough in developing a spin computer which would combine logic with non-volatile memory, bypassing the need for computers to boot up. Now, I'm not going to pretend to have really figured out how this works, but a ferromagnetic spin injector injects electrons into graphene, and then somehow that gives them removes an I/O bottleneck created by the system bus. So your stuff goes straight from the CPU to your storage device. That means no BIOS, no nothing. It just on. Whatever data's on the hard drive, there. Boom. Turn it on.
Ferromagnetic. What?
Did you like the part about boom on, though? Roland Kawakami is one of the project's lead scientists and associate producer, said the clock speed of the chips made using tunneling spin injection, that's what that's called, thousands of times faster than today's processors. This is coming down the pike.
I am going to just get behind and say I am excited for you, Tom.
Thank you. You're not you don't want the bootless computer?
Listen, I've been up since 1:30 in the morning. I'm cranky, and I'm going to transition right into the calendar because I'm going to make all the rest of you cranky with some news.
She needs a bootless brain right now.
I do. It's 11 days till Halloween. It's 37 days till Black Friday.
That's all?
It's 66 days till Christmas.
How many shopping?
And it's 78 days till CES.
Okay, that doesn't sound so bad. 78 is pretty far.
That was just my I haven't given you, a real long version of calendar with context on the world as we geeks see it. So
I think it's funny that our reaction as tech journalists to 78 days till CES is that's
worst.
something to be avoided. Whereas everyone in our audience is like, "Ooh, CES, yay!" It's only our feet talking when we act
I'll
negatively.
never sleep again.
And, the
We
desire
love
to
the
see your
CES.
eyelids.
Yeah.
In other news, engineering samples of Android 3.0 loaded tablet PCs are said to be ready in December, right, Tom?
Yeah, so we're actually likely to see a bunch of Android 3.0 powered tablets on display at CES.
Gingerbread.
Because they'll have the engineering samples ready to go. It's going to be a gingerbread festival.
I think it. Oh, I saw something that went into my Christmas gift list already.
Yeah?
Ninjabread men cookie cutters. They're little.
I must have.
They're like little
Ninjabread. I love it.
ninja
Oh,
cookie
That's
cutters.
goodness.
TWiT Christmas party, I'm
I know.
telling you.
Ninjabread men.
men.
It's so awesome. This is one that I think Veronica is already excited about, and people in the chat room. Fallout New Vegas in stores now.
Yay! I've actually had it for the past week. And it's awesome.
Ooh.
And
Yeah,
the
it is
report?
pretty fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's I had a review copy in, and I was playing it pretty much nonstop the entire weekend.
In the chat room, they were asking if you were playing it and what you thought and whether you liked it. So available in stores now. That is the.
What is the one key thing that makes it awesome that kept you playing it?
It's not too much different from Fallout 3 in terms of the way it looks and the way it works, but it's just being able to have that whole game's worth of content, available to you again. It's way more than an expansion, and it's a lot of fun. It's nice to be back in that world again, even though it is in the future from when we last left that world.
When we last left Fallout. Tomorrow, Apple will make their big announcement, and all our speculation will be done.
Yeah,
we were arguing with Leo earlier before the show about whether there's going to be new MacBooks or not. I'm starting to suspect that my insistence that there will be is because I actually want to buy one.
We've lost all journalistic integrity.
But
we just are projecting.
if you look at the average number of days between MacBook announcements, we're almost exactly there. So it wouldn't be out of the pattern, I think, for them to announce it. But it's probably going to be mostly about OS X, because why would you put the lion on there otherwise? Come on.
And then also there were all these rumors about the Air having some sort of a refresh, but that doesn't seem to be popular in the old TWiT cottage. Yeah.
Before we move on to voicemail, Ninjabread men.
Oh, aren't they awesome?
Thanks to Eli in the chat room.
This is
That's
a
a lot
reason to
cooler than
go
the
take a look at the
pumpernickel
video
bread.
version.
Yeah, Ninjabread men.
They actually fight each other.
Yeah,
On the
they're
cookie
different
sheet.
poses. Yeah.
It's so much better than fruitcake.
Definitely. All right, to the voicemail, 260-TNT show, and our caller has a solution for Cablevision subscribers out in the East Coast who can't get their local channel.
Hi, guys. Just heard show 98 about the Cablevision and Fox fracas in New York City. I just drove back from there, and it was all over the news. And I was wondering, if I'm a Cablevision customer and I can't get my Giants game, why don't I go down and go get an antenna or a digital converter box if that's what I need? Right, they're talking about people going out to bars and spending $50 to eat dinner and watch the game. It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, love the show. Thanks a lot.
Oh,
this
that's
is Norm from Ohio.
Thanks, Norm.
There are other ways to get your TV.
Yeah, we bring this up from time to time, but it's worth a reminder. If you don't know, you can plug an antenna into your television, either a small desktop one if you live in close to the broadcast, or you can put one up on your house, or you might have an old UHF one on your house that you could just plug in right now. That's left up there, hasn't been used in years. It will receive free over-the-air HD broadcasts.
For almost 2 years, the FCC had a program to hand these out practically for free, giving you a coupon to subsidize the purchase of your antenna.
No, it was the box. It was subsidized the purchase.
Yeah, subsidize of the
box
switcher
for
box for your old antenna.
television.
Thank you. A local station in the Midwest gave out these same boxes for free, and they had 350 people lined up at the station because it's almost like people have forgotten, and this is a new old way to do this.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good refresher. It's a good way to think about it. And I also have to just say to Norm, because I could hear that he was driving. He referenced he was driving. And when I drive up to Petaluma, you know what I listen to? The TNTs that I was not on, so I can keep track of what you were up to.
I thought you were going to say you listened to Norm.
No, I know, but I just think it's great because I know that there are about, we have a ton of listeners who are driving and listening to the show on their commutes and whatever. And I'm thinking
I hope you were using Ford voice-activated sync to call us,
certainly.
not holding the phone.
No.
All right, on to the emails to TNT@twit.tv. Veronica, do us the honor of reading the first one.
All right. Love the show. Maybe I'm in the minority, but why should I care if my Facebook info is shared? All that's on it that's personal is my name, the town I live in, the town I grew up in, and my email address. My name and town is in a public phone book. My email, what's that going to lead to? More spam? I doubt I'd notice. Mostly what I do on Facebook is post links to interesting things and random statuses about what I'm up to. What are people putting on Facebook that's so sensitive?
Okay, this was the...
Wait a minute. Who wrote this?
Oh, I was fired up.
We must give his identity.
Sorry.
It was
Aaron,
my fault.
No last name.
He doesn't reveal his last name, does he, Aaron, in Valparaiso, Nebraska, or I think that's where he's from. Correct me if I'm wrong. This was my reading of some of the interpretations of this story yesterday, was that, yes, that's absolutely true, and if you keep your Facebook settings locked down and private, they will be limited to what they can get to. But this is all happening in browser. So they could drop a cookie, associate that to your name and your hometown, and track the websites you visit. Mm-hmm. So let's take this to the furthest corner of the EFF's worst nightmare, okay? They've got your name, they've got your hometown, they've got your age. They can pretty much figure out who you are. They, the ominous they. They tie that to the fact that you go to WebMD and you search about breast cancer. And then someday, is that information sold to an insurance company who's trying to do a risk assessment on whether or not you should be insured? I'm just taking it to the nth degree. Is that too far?
No, I don't think it's too far. But the thing is, most of your scenario doesn't need Facebook. The addition of the Facebook ID, I don't think adds all that much.
Where else is that personally?
You're dropping a cookie on a browser, so you can just drop a cookie on a browser anytime you want.
But where is that personally identifying information coming from otherwise?
You remember that AOL fiasco where they released a bunch of anonymized data and then they ended up being able to figure out who people were? You don't need the name from Facebook to be able to associate this data, market it to you.
Right, but what this does is it systematizes it by taking a standard number or a URL referrer that's very systematized and makes it very easy to parse.
Yeah, I think you can get that anyway. I don't think the Facebook. I'm not defending the UID, and I think Facebook did the right thing to shut it off. But I don't think this is the thing that really makes it bad.
It's not the worst turn. It's not the first turn. It's just I think privacy is so on the radar of people. And Veronica and I were going to speak at this Consumer Electronics Conference about 5 really big trends that are coming up, and privacy awareness from the general, I call them the Gen Pop, that is really on the up. And I think these companies are going to see the backlash this year. You agree, Veronica?
Yeah, well, that's what I think is actually really good about this whole situation is that it's drawing a lot of attention to the privacy issue that people may not have paid attention to before. Because time and time again, I talk to people who may not be the biggest tech fans or the most savvy when it comes to this kind of stuff. And they just don't realize that the information they post online can be tracked via cookies, that they do have a UID, that information they post on Facebook can be, given to third parties that can use that data later or sell it even. And so I like that people are becoming a lot more aware of where their information is going. And even if it's not all that detrimental down the line, maybe if we are making a bigger deal about it than we need to, at least people are thinking about it.
And I think this is going to be the start of not Facebook's actually being very proactive. They get it, but we are going to see companies like Zynga take a beat down on this issue.
Zynga would never do anything bad.
No, that's just not their corporate culture, Tom.
All right, finally, Jay wrote in and wrote a very nice email. I'm just going to read one little section of it, though. He said, I avoided sounding off on my initial knee-jerk reaction of dislike for the news fuse and decided to give it time, but I'm afraid I hesitated too long to have an influence. To me, the news fuse might as well be called a superficial reading of a bunch of news headlines that I can look up anyway to get any kind of explanation or understanding. So I like to confront these. It was very polite and a very nice criticism. So I wrote him back, but I kind of wanted, in case there's somebody else who feels the same way, although maybe they stopped listening by now. The News Fuse is sort of in place of one other story that we could kick around in the normal way. It's a way to give you a bunch of information that we wouldn't otherwise cover that doesn't need a lot of talking and discussion and conversation around it. So if Jay feels that way, we may be putting the wrong stories in the News Fuse. I don't know. But I'm interested in what people in the audience think.
And I also would like to point out that he says, you call out a lot of stories that I have to look up to get any more information on. That's exactly why we have it. We just kind of hit the headlines to make sure you're aware of stuff that if that twigs something for you that's important, you can be alerted to it and then go seek out more data online.
But appreciate Jay sharing his opinions. That's what makes the show better, is finding out what people like and what people don't like and taking that all into account. Veronica, thanks so much for being on the show again. It was great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Let people know stuff about you.
Okay.
Start from the beginning.
I really like the color blue. I like long walks on the beach. No, you can find all my stuff at about.me/Veronica. My blog is veronicabelmont.com. Currently taking suggestions on your favorite hot sauces out there because I'm a huge sauce fan. That sounded wrong. I'm a huge hot sauce fan. And I want to know what everyone likes because I've tried stuff from all over the country and I have yet to find the perfect hot sauce.
I don't know if I've run into any that you don't already know. So that's because I use your Tapatios and your what's the Cholula, those kind of sauces. I'm not into hot sauce, Becky.
You lost me at ketchup.
Wow.
Wow. I like mixing hot sauce with ketchup.
Yeah. Should talk to my brother-in-law. He's a huge hot sauce fan. He might have some tips for you.
And of course, you can follow both me and Tom on swordandlaser.com. And that's pretty much it that I can think of right now. Texilla on Revision 3, Core on the PlayStation Network are my usual gigs. And no, these are not fake glasses. They're just my occasional glasses.
They're so sassy.
Good glasses.
Sassy.
Nice job. Saucy. I actually got into About.me as well. About.me/Tom Merritt is mine now. I got to go fix that up, though. There's not a lot there yet. I just got started.
Oh, great. Another forum for my narcissism. Exactly. Oh, great. I got to go do that now, too?
You.
Oh.
Yeah. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. Give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW, or email us, TNT@twit.tv, and we will read it. Maybe on the show. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.